I worked with Chun Li at the Building Research Establishment for a number of years, and still working in building technology and sustainability with my own consultancy business. And Chun Li's asked me if I'd like to get involved with this product, and I have to say it looks exciting and something that really gives me a new perspective on day-to-day understanding of building technology and how healthy buildings make people feel. So the training course today is intended to introduce you to the many various health hazards we face on a daily basis in our homes, workplaces and leisure spaces. The very things that the comprehensive range of healthy air products are designed to tackle and make any enclosed space a healthy, cleaner, safe place to be. Reducing sickness, lethargy and increasing life expectancy in the occupants who are fortunate enough to be exposed to our systems running within their environments. Ultimately helping you and your teams to build a case and the ability to influence the buyer in making into one of the most important purchases that they will make. So the course today is, as Chun Li's already said, is about the background of pollution. So I'm pretty sure that some of the stuff we'll tell you you'll already know, but I'm also hoping that there'll be something that you'll all take away regardless of your level of knowledge and expertise as well. As an add-on to this, there will be a more series of different training courses more focused on business to business and business to customer selling, which will give you more involved tools around objections and those kind of things, but they're to come at a future date. Okay, so modern life and the advancements of technologies have given us an amazing quality of life through warmth, comfort, entertainment, productivity, leisure, mobility and safety. However, it's come at a cost, hasn't it? Components which in big enough concentrates in the products that we buy have an impact on our health and mortality. Invisible things that we don't know about. And we're sat there breathing them in on a daily basis, quite happy with our lives. We'd like to start by taking you on a journey through some of the pollutants we're exposed to in and around our homes, cars and workplaces, and the effects they have on our bodies. So this will give you teams some individual background, and obviously you won't use all of them with all of your customers, but there will be key times and key situations like the current pandemic that we face in that'll come to the fore, and what we intend to do today is just give you that technical knowledge and background to be able to make points. Okay, no, there we go. Okay, so let's first talk about the top 10 risk factors for premature death. The latest figures that we have and that we're using today are from 2016. And as you can see on the graphic on the right-hand side of your screen, quite high up is ambient air pollution, 4.9 million deaths per year. Actually, it's depending on where you get your figures from, you'll see that there are different figures, and actually the higher figure that we'll talk about in a minute is 6.7 million. So depending on who is doing the measuring. So the World Health Organization has said that that 90% of the world population breathes polluted air. The most harmful sources of pollution are tiny floating solids, particulate matter, which we'll talk about in the next slide in more detail, liquid particles, aerosols, and solid organic and inorganic particles. And there you go, a contradiction straight away between the two graphics. Air pollution causes more than 6.7 million deaths worldwide through cardiovascular, respiratory and other diseases. So that's direct and indirect deaths down to air pollution. NOx and SOx impair respiratory function and aggravate existing respiratory diseases, especially bronchitis and cardiovascular disease. We'll just go. So let's talk about what particulate matter is, for those of you that don't know. So every day we have to breathe air, as you're already quite aware of that. You don't need me to tell you that. But the air you breathe contains a mixture of solids and liquids, including carbon, sulfates, nitrates, a whole load of chemicals, dusts and particles that are in the air, and that's known as particulate matter. Some are more dangerous than others. based on what they are and also the size of them. So stuff that you can see in the air like dust and soot and smoke are large enough to be visible, but most damaging particles are the smaller ones. And they're measured by size, known as PM10, particulate matter 10, and PM2.5. The smaller one of the two that is regularly referenced in medical and industry articles are 2.5 particles, and they're invisible to the naked eye. And the problem with these is that they can pass into your lungs, into your bloodstream even, and into your organs. Generally, they come from combustion, burning of solid and liquid fuels through power generation, domestic heating, and in vehicle engines as well. Something that in time, hopefully with a move to different types of power generation in some countries, will reduce. But on a worldwide basis, it's still a massive issue. Exposure to PM2.5 can cause illnesses like asthma, COPD, coronary heart disease, stroke and lung cancer. There's also evidence that PM2.5 has an impact on young and unborn babies through low birth weight, diabetes, and diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So the idea of this graphic is just to show you 2019's average PM2.5 concentrations worldwide. There's no surprise there that you'll see developed countries with clean air technology for manufacturing and stronger legislation around vehicles has a lower PM2.5, and developing countries and countries with less legislation around dirty industry and emissions from processes are much higher. But of course, that's an average. So it doesn't mean, for instance, here in the UK that we're all perfectly fine. In fact, the town where I live, we have 3 areas of air quality management issues, where regularly these junctions are higher than the European maximum required for air pollution. So whilst that's the average, on hot days at congestion areas with traffic, even developed countries, it's a big problem. This is just the average. Just to really emphasize again how dangerous PM2.5 is. So systematic exposure to PM2.5 over a prolonged period can reduce your life expectancy by 8.6 months to 3 years. Again, depending on different studies, depending on the individual's health conditions and underlying health conditions as well. And the other bit really just re-identifies the fact that how PM2.5 can go into your internal organs and your bloodstream, which obviously isn't very healthy. Experts from the School of Public Health of Fudan University collected and analysed PM2.5 and discovered, no surprise, that they're carcinogenic. So as you can see there, 2.5 exposure of NOx, SOx and other harmful gases gives an 8% increased risk of lung cancer, a 6% increase of mortality, and 4% increase of mortality for everybody. So even if you're healthy, there's a chance that you're reducing your life expectancy is 4%. Obviously, there's not a lot we can do other than avoiding sources of pollution outside. And what we're about and what you're here for is to understand indoor air, which of course is influenced by outside as well. But indoor air is much more harmful than outdoor air. Because it's concentrated, you've got 4 walls and a ceiling holding it in. Depending on where you live, there's a very high dependency on forced air ventilation, air conditioning systems. And of course, the fact that humans are in the building doing what they do anyway. So you'll see from this very useful graphic that air conditioning is the single largest risk with indoor air, followed by smoking. Construction, so that's things like building materials, finishes, fixtures, composite materials that use glues and chemicals to bind items together, and dust from construction, and also human activities, which we'll go into in a little bit more detail. So in a typical house, where are the dangers? Formaldehyde. We do quite a bit on formaldehyde. It's a rather nasty substance. But you can see pretty much every room in your house has an impact from formaldehyde. That's because of its use in building materials and furniture and fixtures and things. Obviously, there's dust in every room in which you live. Smoke from kitchen and smoke from people smoking in the main living area as well has a dramatic impact and is present in rooms. Benzene, again, from materials, building materials. Hair, not something that isn't necessarily a problem from me, but from other people I might live with. Radon from outside. So radon is present in varying amounts depending on the geology. If you're in a low radon area, it's obviously not an issue, but there are some quite high spiked areas of radon. We do have the ability to treat that to a certain extent as well. I don't think we could have not noticed that bacteria and viruses are present wherever we are at the moment in the current situation that we find ourselves. Smells from the kitchen and other areas, back to the human aspect again. And if you can smell something, then you obviously know it's there, but that also isn't just unpleasant for the nose, it can also have an impact on the body. And then finally, TVOC. So volatile organic compounds. TVOC is the build-up of all of them together and the impact that it would have on you. And so, again, it's quite a lot within our house. So let's just take you through some of the pollution sources and the pollutants so you understand a little bit more. So it's a follow-on from the last slide. Smoke from cigarettes has more than 4,000 harmful substances in it. Fuel combustion, coal-fired gas stoves, gas water heaters produces SO2, NOx, and CO and IP, and hydrocarbons as well. Many of those are carcinogenic to humans. Cooking fumes, depending on what you're cooking, more than 200 chemicals, including aldehydes, ketones, hydrocarbons. Building and decorative materials, so this is where formaldehyde and benzene series are really nasty products, and also radon. Household chemicals, bug killers, bug sprays, cleaning materials, room fragrance, all of those kind of things. Human inactivity, so exhaled respiratory CO, droplets carrying viruses, animal excrement. I don't know whether I'd want that should be in your house, but I suppose if you've got a cat, maybe with a litter tray, and other undesirable gases from people. And finally, the air conditioner, with a buildup of bacteria and microorganisms and peculiar smells. So this kind of just covers a little bit more. As one of the top 10 threats to our health, as you already saw on the first screen, indoor air quality is connected to 68% of the diseases that we get as human beings. Long-term inhalation of formaldehyde, SOx and NOx can damage the liver, kidney, blood, digestive system, respiratory system. And pregnant women exposed to low concentration formaldehyde gas can develop menstrual disorders, fetal malformations, as well as decreased immunity, physical fitness, and newborns. Children and pregnant women are particularly sensitive because obviously in children their organs aren't fully developed. So as they're developing, the exposure has dramatic impacts on youth and later life as well. Air conditioning. In the top right-hand corner is an image of the bacteria Bacillus cereus, which is one of the biggest risks within air conditioning systems. So air conditioning systems obviously have radiating fans, and they are found to contain roughly 10,000 times the maximum detection of bacterial colonies on them. So obviously they need to be serviced and cleaned regularly, which I'm sure a lot aren't. And there's some good legislation in some of the developed countries to allow for that. But even then we do have problems with things like Legionella, buildup of water within the systems, and also other bacteria as shown on the screen there as well. Generally, people who stay in an air-conditioned environment for too long will start to feel dizzy and weak, and their natural immunity will decline. And my personal experience of a completely airtight hotel room with air conditioning, when I've traveled for business, is the next day I feel really terrible and quite oppressed within the room as well. So it's something that's really actively, you can actively feel it once you're in that environment. So formaldehyde is probably one of the biggest risks in terms of health and one of the most dramatic impacts on human health. So we want to develop quite a bit of time to that and just go through it. Firstly, by just showing you around the world and some of the statistics around formaldehyde as well. So formaldehyde is recognized as a first-class carcinogen in America in 2010, and in fact, January the 1st, 2016, it was classed as a 1B carcinogen in the UK, meaning it can only be supplied to professional organisations and by a licensed retailer. The results, World Health Organization has claimed that 0.06 parts per million of formaldehyde is a recommended safe level. Yet in America, they've discovered that 0.08, so only a small increase, will mean that 1 in 100 adults will develop cancer. That rises to 3% for children at the same level, and in very young children, it rises to 10%, which is a dramatic jump up for the same amount of particulate matter, depending upon your age. So we really need to think about formaldehyde and what we do to protect ourselves from it. I'm not going to read each one of these, but effectively you can see that countries around the world have taken formaldehyde really seriously and putting in measures to limit its use and the volume of parts per million available that people are exposed to as well. Formaldehyde in the home, just as we've already kind of discussed when I showed you every single room in the house, but just to give you a demonstration, laminate flooring, the composite materials in that and the adhesives used in a lot of laminate floorings will contain formaldehyde. The same with furniture, the fabrics, the glues that hold the wood together, the way the fabrics are manufactured will contain formaldehyde as part of the manufacturing process. The same with non-solid wood, so compressed chipboard and MDF and HDF, high density fibre board and medium density fibre board will contain formaldehyde in its production as a stabilizer within the construction. Rugs, beds, even, and this surprised me actually when we were doing this, because I obviously know from a construction point of view that there's formaldehyde in building products. But it surprised me that formaldehyde's in technology. The very laptop that I'm presenting to you on, the very computer that you're watching this on, your mobile phone, may well contain formaldehyde. Heating systems may contain in the construction, but also produce formaldehyde. And then your kitchen cabinets, again, it's a composite material. Most kitchens, kitchen worktops, kitchen cupboard carcasses will contain. So effectively, every single room in your house will contain a product that has formaldehyde in it. And some of it may now be old enough to be inert, but a lot of those are only a few years old. And as they're new put in, that's a real high spike. It's a big problem and something that we measure in new construction a lot. In order to deal with indoor air pollution, and I'm not going to read the top bit, there's a stage process. Obviously ventilation to let fresh air come through, which is a bit of a joke because then you're letting in pollutants from the outside as well. Pollution source treatment. So how do you effectively really eradicate the sources of pollution? Can you really buy products that don't contain a pollutant? And I would say unless you were making it yourself, I don't think there really is a way. I think, you know, you're always going to have something in your house that will provide a source of pollution. And then finally, active purification and partial purification by the use of technology and systems within the house, which is where healthy air technology comes in. Depending upon who you speak to, Pollution indoors is anywhere between 2 to 10 times higher than pollution outdoors. So it is a real good driver for us to do something about it. Just to go through a few more additional chemicals and pollutants, we'll just show you the worst ones that are abundant in our atmosphere. So formaldehyde, we've already talked about. It's quite often an irritating gas with a strong smell. The impact on health is manifested in an irritation of the eyes. But, you know, low levels of that can still have an impact on your body long term, but you don't know it's there because it's not high enough to cause some of these reactions. Volatile organic compounds may cause irritation and, of the eyes. You'll all have been exposed to VOCs if you do any painting in your home and have that really strong paint smell. That's a VOC, and a really obvious one. Benzene, toluene, and xylene. As you can see there, benzene is a carcinogen by the International Agency for the Research for Cancer. Inhalation and absorption of a certain amount through the skin can cause poisoning and in severe cases damage the human hematopoietic and nervous systems. The other two are colourless, transparent liquids that irritate the skin and can cause damage to the nervous system as well. Toluene, which is an advancement of diocyanate, is an inorganic compound in the form of a gas. So it's the gas version of toluene. And then, finally, the lead, cadmium, chromium, and the metals there, common toxic pollutants in many forms throughout the house. Are soluble to the human body, and they'll be in the things that you buy, the chemicals that you use in your house to clean and decorate and just generally do work around your home, and other sources as well, which will cause you problems if you don't protect yourself. NOx and SOx are heavily abundant in the heating systems and the way we work around the house and the way we cook, so we've given them a slightly bigger amount of interest within this presentation. So sodium oxide is a colourless, moderately irritating gas that affects the respiratory tract. Sulfur dioxide results from burning sulfur-containing fuels. So most sulfur dioxide is in the air as a byproduct of power generation and industrial processes. So that'll be coming in through your windows, being sucked in by the air conditioning systems and regulated around the house. For those who are susceptible, it can affect your lung function. People there will suddenly find they're struggling to breathe, coughing, and this is quite a big one for reducing life expectancy as well. And you can see, depending upon the levels that you're exposed to, it goes anything from a pungent smell to acute bronchitis and death in a short period of time if you have a real high exposure. And finally, NOx. Nitrogen dioxide is a brown-red gas with a pungent odour and results in mainly from vehicle exhaust, fuel combustion and thermal power stations. So if you think about nitrogen dioxide, we all live near roads. Currently, the level of people living in urban areas is around about 56% of the world's population live in urban areas. And by 2030, that's likely to be around about 65%, which means we're exposed to higher levels of pollutants, and especially nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere, because we're attracted to live close to people for being close to relatives, for being close to places where we can work. And then that has a dramatic effect on our health because we are in these concentrations of higher pollutants as well. Again, if you have a look on the table on the bottom right hand side, again, the smallest concentration of 1 part per million, just you can smell it. 5 gets a bit of a stronger smell, right the way through 200 or more, instant death. It's not something that's recommended for your health, obviously, to be exposed to that too much. No presentation talking about impacts on health from particulate matter would be complete without the immediate risk and dramatic risk that we currently face worldwide, affecting travel, affecting health, killing family members, is COVID-19. So as of 5 days ago, when I put this figure down, we had 184 million cases of COVID worldwide, with just under 4 million deaths. Certainly something worth thinking about. As a system, we can deal with COVID particulate matter or virus particles. Whilst there has not been any tests done on COVID against the technology, and partially that's because I believe it's currently illegal for testing houses to use COVID-19 bacteria in testing, although that will change. Our product has been tested using H1N1 virus, which is a smaller particle than COVID particles. So the biggest issue around killing bacteria and viruses for any machine, especially for our DNO technology, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail shortly, is not what the bacteria is, not what the virus is. It's actually about the size of the particles, and the smaller the particles, the harder it is for us to deal with them. So under test by SGS, which is a leading testing house worldwide and well respected, our machines scored 99.9%, I think it's 99.95 killing rate for H1N1 virus, which is a smaller particle than COVID-19, which demonstrates that the machines will have the same or similar efficacy rate for COVID-19 as we do for H1N1. And there we go, I've just moved on a slide and I've got it there. So the test in our units, H1N1 coronavirus is smaller particle than COVID-19. So if you look at the graphic here, it's actually a really good image. So you can see the size of PM10 relative to PM2.5, and remember that PM2.5 is big enough to go into our bloodstreams and into our respiratory system, which is the same as bacteria. And you'll see here that SARS-CoV-2, which is the H1N1 bacteria, COVID-19, sorry, bacteria, is bigger than the PM2.5 that we're more than capable of dealing with anyway. As you can see there, our particles, our filters can kill particles as small as 0.003 microns. But we also have a technology, which is the anion ability to negatively charge particles, bringing them together to make smaller particles become larger effectively by coagulating them. So enough on the background. Let's have a look at the core technology.
DNO, d-orbital nano oxide technology, is used to remove indoor and outdoor air pollutants, as well as viruses and bacteria. As a catalyst, it does this at ambient temperatures. This technology uses transition metal d-orbital electrons with strong electronic attraction. All oxidation and disinfection occurs on the surface of the d-orbital nano-oxide catalyst and not in the air, which means that no secondary pollution will occur. We are Healthy Air Technology Limited.
Okay, so I showed you that, which gives you a very easy explanation, which makes my job a lot easier for this graphic. So effectively, the video just tells you in very simplistic terms how the DNO catalyst works. And I may get Chun-Li to chip in here if she wants to around the technology, but effectively, and she may correct me as I go, the first graphic demonstrates the DNO filter. And the particles, once they attach to it, undergo a chemical reaction, which ends up in the neutralization of viruses and bacteria, meaning that the only exhaust from our system is water and CO2. Is that good enough, Chun-Li, or do you want me to say any more than that?
Yeah, this is a very deep science, and as long as people watched the video on it, that is a very good explanation already. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks. I mean, you can look at that in a little bit more detail if you wish, but effectively, the DNO technology does have the ability to neutralize all of the materials, all of the pollutants we've been talking about this morning in the background information, and just literally expel nothing other than water and CO2 into the room. So if you have a look at if you take the filter out of one of the systems, which is the first thing you do when you receive one, to take the wrapper off it and take a good look, you can see on the inside filter, the DNO filter, you can actually see these little balls within the filter there. They're big enough to be seen by the naked eye. And they are the ones that, that set this unit apart from anything else in the market. As you can see, the process includes enrichment, catalysis, mineralization, and long-term protection, in addition to other high-efficiency composite technologies within the filters, to completely purify and control indoor air pollution, removing toxic gases and viruses as well. The main key for this system is to use ambient temperature active oxide, which cycles through the room's air in a few minutes, using the patented delivery system. And the technology uses transition metals with orbital electrons. So all oxidization and disinfection reactions occur in the oxide on the surface, as you saw in the video, rather than in the air, which is how other systems work, most other systems. So no secondary air pollution can or will occur with our system. So just to bullet point that, unlike traditional approaches, we apply a breakthrough solution which changes the way the particles are dealt with. High efficiency nano air purifiers use high quality, highly specific surface area carriers such as activated carbon, silica, alumina, molecular sieve materials, which are then coated with active components such as nanoscale iron oxide, manganese, zinc oxide, copper oxide, titanium oxide, and silver, for those of you that really want to know how it works. The degree of the pollutant removal is indicated visually on the front of the unit. So you have confirmation, the client has confirmation that the system is working and how well it's working on a minute-by-minute basis. And it treats common air pollutants, as we've already said, through efficient absorption and conversion into harmless byproducts. And that includes bacteria and viruses, which takes a lot to get your head around when you don't understand the science behind it. When Chun-Li first told me it kills viruses and bacteria, and I'm like, how does that work? So it's only taken me about 5 weeks to get my head around it. The good news is the unit has a long service life as well, with no secondary pollution after the air is purified. The quality is better than the level required by the UK indoor air quality standards for civil buildings. So the one thing you can't be saying to your clients is, we can deliver fresh air into your room, because what we deliver is better than fresh air. There are no pollutants like you have in fresh air. So you can tell them it's better than fresh air. Now, some of you may have already seen this video. The system that we employ to deliver the fresh air and to clean the air within the room is CFD fluid dynamic technology. So this is designed to cover a wider range of area within the room and much more comprehensively increases the efficiency of the air cleaning within the room of the system. Drawing on fluid dynamics, the air outlet blows vertically upwards. So the air is sucked in from the side and thrown about the top, which means it circulates a lot quicker, because it hits the ceiling, as you'll see on that video, and then drops back down to the sides. And as that happens, it brings the dirtier air inside and the unit sucks that back up. So it really increases the efficiency in which we can deal with pollutants in the air and reduce the time that you'd be exposed to anything that you don't want to be exposed to within your rooms. And the video will show you that. The second part of the video shows you somebody sneezing in the room, and the left-hand graphic is without the machine turned on, and the right-hand graphic will be with the machine turned on, and you'll see the difference in the efficiency of the exposure that someone else in the room would have to the sneeze particles. So you see on the left-hand side, everything just stays in the room and it's there for you to breathe in. So if you imagine In the current climate, you have somebody over to visit with the risk of COVID variants of all types, and you don't know whether they have it or not. With the machine switched on, as they're breathing out, that air's filtrated very quickly and dealt with, reducing and minimizing the risk, neutralizing it, of you being able to catch anything that they're breathing out. As opposed to if the machine wasn't on, those particles will just hang around in the room indefinitely almost. So the wording you've already seen about 4 times throughout this presentation, but just to show you that currently on the market we have 3 units: the car air purifier, the commercial air purifier, the HA800, and the home air purifier. And under development and due to be released soon is the desktop air purifier as well. Giving options for everybody, regardless of their own situation and budget, to be able to protect themselves from bacteria, viruses, and particles in the air. So obviously these rates vary from machine to machine. So the HA800 is so named the 800 because it has a clean air delivery rate of 800 meters cubed an hour. So obviously the HA500 has a 500 meters cubed delivery rate per hour. You'll see that the formaldehyde clean air delivery rate is 437, and this is a little bit lower because of the time it takes for the chemical reaction on the DNO filter to work. So it's a slightly lower, well, it's quite a bit lower, but it's a lower rate, but it's still higher than traditional methods, I think. Am I right in saying, of dealing with formaldehyde?
Absolutely, yes. And also the technology can convert formaldehyde into water and CO2. So there's no trace of secondary pollutants at all.
That's good. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, very good. Thank you.
I've got some extra notes here, but I've realised I've got buried under everything else, and I think it's one of these as well. And then finally, the CCM cumulative purification amount, which is cubic centimeters per minute, which is a standard measure of machines. All of our machines reach P4 status, and I don't know I don't know off the top of my head what the number is now, but I do remember that the units that we have, the 800 achieves 4 times the minimum requirement to achieve P4 status. So I don't know. In the building industry, we used to have something for housing in the UK called Code for Sustainable Homes, which went up to level 5 and never went any further. But industry, where they overperformed, made up Code 6, Code 7. So you could almost say we're probably a P6 or P7 if there was a rate for it. But we go way beyond what industry determines as best practice for cumulative purification amount. This graphic shows you basically how the machine works. So similar to the video, there are 2 air inlets, one on either side of the unit. First, the air passes through the primary filter and then through the 2 HEPA filters, finally into the DNO catalytic filter. And all of that is compressed into one filter system that's probably about 4 or 5 centimeters in thickness. So if you take the filter out, you'll see that they're all together inside of there. That then goes into the fans that throws the clean air back out into the room, creating that CFD mushroom effect, like a mushroom, so hitting the ceiling and pushing it around the outside of the room, delivering the clean air to every part of the room, which is why the positioning of the machine is really important, away from the wall. So in the manual, it asks it to be at least 20 centimeters away from the wall, and that allows for the CFD to operate efficiently within the room. Just to show you against the testing houses. So this is one of the tests that was done on the HA800 filter within a test laboratory, certified results. And you can see there on the left-hand side, sulfur dioxide, we have a 99.8% removal rate, nitrogen dioxide 99.6. Formaldehyde is 97.4, but is still a really high figure for the removal and neutralization of formaldehyde. And then you can see right away the bottom one, H1N1, similar virus to COVID, but smaller particles, which are harder to deal with. We still achieve a 99.9% neutralization and cleansing rate of that. So we know for sure, based on the size of the particles, which if you remember me saying is the biggest issue when dealing with a virus or bacteria, isn't the virus or the bacteria itself or what it is, it's the size of the particles. And the fact that these are smaller, we're still achieving 99.9% removal rate. The product itself has a really simple display. So on the front of the machine in natural operation, you will always see at the top left-hand corner the relative humidity of the room where the unit's sitting and the indoor ambient room temperature. This actually is a picture from my machine in my sitting room. Then we have the PM 2.5 particle detection rate. So that's showing you what your current indoor particle 2.5 is, and that's obviously what we're cleaning and the level that we're cleaning at as well within the room. We've got a couple of buttons down the bottom. The A pops up to show you that you're in automatic operation, which under normal situation is what you should have on. And then the anion operator indicator. This is the system that puts a negative charge onto the particles and makes them larger. So it increases the efficiency of the machine. So that should always be on anyway under normal circumstances. And then finally, how clean your filter is. So you can see there's 5 stages there, which allows the user to determine when the filter needs changing going forward. On the top of the machine, there's a remote control that comes with it, but on the top of the machine, there are touch sensitive buttons. So these again is the picture of the top of my machine. And you can see there it's simple touch and light indicators. So the automatic, on the right-hand side of the auto button is the power button, as I'm sure you all know if you've seen the machine. Fan speed, we have 5 fan speeds there. The anion button. Timed operation, so you can have the running up to 12 hours, I think we said, before it will switch itself off. And filter reset, so if you want to get the machine to go back to automatic operating, because once the filter goes down to a certain level, it starts to flush, and that just resets the motor and the system to work in normal operation. And then finally, the sleep button here. This switches off the lights on the front of the unit for when you want to sleep, but also the HA range has a light sensor. So when the room goes completely dark, it assumes everybody's gone to bed and it's nobody in the room, and it will switch the machine off. By operating the sleep function, when the room's in darkness, obviously when you're asleep, the machine operates normally, but without any lights on the front, so it doesn't disturb your sleep whilst it's cleaning and protecting you in your bed. Okay, so this is the exciting slide for me because I've had my machine for a short while, and Chun-Li said to me, "You wait." I was showing, you saw on the previous screen, in my lounge, the particulate matter was very low, and I was kind of boasting to Chun-Li, "Oh, I haven't got air pollution, I'm fine." And she said, "Wait until you cook, and then you'll see a difference." Okay, so the other night, and none of you can't have any, I cooked a curry, which is on the right hand side, and you'll see on the left hand side I've got a griddle, and I cooked some rotis on a dry griddle on that, and that obviously creates a lot of particulate matter in the air. So this was in my kitchen. The lounge where the machine is passes through 2 doorways via a hallway and is about 15 meters from the source of pollution in my kitchen, which is here on the top left. And after eating, cooked, ate in the dining room, went into the lounge afterwards, and the machine was off. So I switched the machine on, and I normally would leave it running, but it was off in this instance, and it started whirring super fast, like making a load of noise. The fans were in full operation, which is unusual because you can't hear it normally when it's running. And I had a look, and the light, as you can see, we talk about color coded for different scenarios. light was red, 167 PM 2.5 in my lounge. So I was like, oh my goodness, look at that. Literally after 4 minutes, it dropped it to 93, so just under half removed out of the room. After 10 minutes, the fan slowed down and the unit went yellow because the pollutant risk had reduced. After 20 minutes, the fan went slower again and it had dropped to 35 parts per million. And then after about 40 minutes, it may have been a little bit before that, because by that time, I have to say I was too busy watching the England football game to really keep an eye on the machine, but I did notice it had turned back to blue again, which is the normal operation when there's no low level of pollution. And then the machine went to quiet operation. You couldn't hear the fans working, and we were down to 0.13. And then a little bit later, it dropped back down to the normal resting rate of about 0.09 for my room, which is the average in that room. But a really good clear indication there, which you can show people, that the machine under different operating situations and different pollutant levels has a very clear display and a really fantastic visual color warning system, so that you're fully aware of the risks and the level of pollution you're being exposed to. Now, I have to say, and we were talking about this just before we came online today, I was sat in that room, and if I hadn't have got the machine on, there was no indication whatsoever. There was no visible smoke in the room. There was no visible smell that I was actually being exposed to higher levels of particulate matter. And then that begs the question, what was the level of particulate matter in the dining room, which is in the same room as the kitchen? Dread to think. So the machine might be moving the next time I cook, so we can have a look at that. Maybe the next time you come to a training course, I'll let you know what that is. But yeah, really quite excited to see very quickly how that has changed my perception of the pollutants in my house. So this is just a quick look at some of the key differences between the HA series and current market technology. So majority of other units will use amino acid with long-acting aldehyde removal technology, which removes formaldehyde, benzene, and TEOG safely and quickly. Of course, you don't need me to tell you again that we use this DNO purification technology, which is unique to our systems, which means we don't have a non-absorption type. And so we don't have any secondary pollutions. But in the normal systems that are out there, probably the very same systems that you were already selling from other manufacturers, the amino acid filter elements will release acid and smelly gas after being used for a period of time. The evaluation of related products by JD customers says that there's a problem with the speed network, and the throat irritation can result from inhalation. In many models, a sour smell is released whenever the unit is turned on, which then takes a long time to dissipate, which just isn't pleasant. In many market technology units, the top liquid module can be used to atomize the disinfectant, which is something we don't need to do because we have the highly efficient nano-solid catalyst to sterilize. The result of using the liquid module, atomized disinfectant, of course, is a particulate, and it's easy to inhale and causes lung disease, as reported by the Korean Center for Disease Control. They also confirm that it's the culprit is the humidity fungicide containing PHMG, which I'm not going to say what that word is underneath, I'll let you read that, which are toxic chemicals that can cause acute lung disease and even cause death in severe cases. So sometimes the very machine you're putting in place to protect you from particulate matter can be the very machine that might be causing it. Market technology will use ultraviolet. No ozone is released during our process, and there's no secondary pollution, so we don't need to use UV sterilization technologies. So it's just a process that we don't need to undertake. And then finally, market technology will use nano silver ion antibacterial layer to prevent bacterial growth. Well, our system with the nano solid catalyst effectively removes bacteria, so we don't need to include that layer. For the systems that do use it, nano silver is a heavy metal, which is recognized as a carcinogen, I think, and certainly not very good for human health. and the Americans have already restricted its use as an antibacterial agent in textiles, and which has even been recognised by the National Olympic Committee not to have them in there because of the negative effect they have on health, which I think gives a really good reason why the first point of contact for your customers looking for an effective air purifier that doesn't provide them with any secondary risks would be looking at DNO technology. And at the moment, the only place you can find that is in HA series of products. We have the brochures available for you digitally, and if there are any more technical information that you require, then you can find that in those. However, you may still have some customer queries from clients that are not answered in the product brochures. So the next two slides are there really just to help your teams understand and give a quick, easy answer to those queries. So number one, what are the advantages of the HA range compared to other similar products? I think we've probably covered that, but in a nutshell, a phrase that you can use is the d-orbital nano oxide catalyst is our core technology, invented by a world-renowned researcher at Oxford University. It efficiently captures and destroys all pollutants, making the air cleaner while avoiding any secondary release, which is a common problem with most air purifiers. What effect will the product have on my indoor space? Once the HA 500 or 800, you will enjoy a purer, safer and healthier breathing experience. People often compare it to the feeling of breathing forest or seaside air without the seagulls. When the HA 500 or 800 is turned off, you may feel uncomfortable due to a difference in air quality. I mean, obviously that's very much dependent on the level of pollution that they're already experiencing and how much the machine has to take out as to whether someone will feel a dramatic change. The built-in sensor will display the air quality and the rate of improvement in real time, offering peace of mind for anyone using the space. The only other effect is obviously you've got to have space for the unit in the room, which is probably the most dramatic thing. But I have to say that after a few days, it disappears into the room and becomes part of the furniture, as I found. What patents have been granted for core technology? Unlikely to have a client ask you this, but you may have a competitor ask you this. The d-orbital nano oxide catalyst has been granted 2 main patents. One's for coating and the other covers the manufacturing process. So we feel that it's really well protected and that the only place you will find this technology is here with us. You won't find it anywhere else. The patented catalyst offers incredible efficiency for a low price, so we predict it will be widely used to improve air pollution. And we're hoping that's what you're hoping as well. How long will the product last? According to our tests, the DNO catalyst removes formaldehyde 1.8 times more efficiently than activated carbon and lasts 8 times as long. So in terms of the competitors in the market, we've got an 8 times longer shelf life of operation. If the life of an activated carbon filter is 3 months, our filter's expectancy would be about 24. So the filters themselves just don't need changing as often. Theoretically, you can use it for a long time without decay, but dust in the surrounding environment, obviously there's maintenance, can lead to a reduction in efficiency. As a result, the life cycle of the products depends on how regularly they're cleaned and the concentration of the pollutants in the surrounding air of the environment. So just like your car, if you get your car serviced and you look after the air filters and the oil filters, it improves the efficiency and in the case of your car, improves fuel economy. Well, in the case of our machines, it improves the efficiency of how well they can protect your family. So really important to make sure that they're cleaned on a regular basis and that the filters are changed in a timely manner as well. Can the HA series remove particulate matter? Yes. We combine a particulate filter with catalyst to remove both particulates and chemical pollutants from the air. And as you saw from the diagram and also the video, there are 2 HEPA filters there sitting side by side, as well as the primary filter, removing particulate matter out of the air. What's unique about the product's technology? It works at normal temperatures without light, completely converts and destroys pollutants, and causes no secondary pollution during the cleaning process. The DNO catalyst can even convert formaldehyde, bacteria and viruses into water and carbon dioxide. Without any wizardry, it's just pure chemistry working reliably in a linear fashion to protect you. Probably the consumer kind of questions, B2C, should I have a unit in every room? Well, optimal effectiveness would come from having a unit in every room. Of course it would, because then every space that you inhabit is protected fully. But you could move a single unit, whichever you're using or which you want to purify. I guess the answer to that question in honesty will be subject to the level of risk that is present. So in a single occupant habitable home, or maybe a family that is that's not mixing an awful lot, a single unit would probably do them perfectly well, because they're only protecting themselves from the risks of their own environment and their own cooking and their own bodily functions, etc. If there's a higher rate of people coming in and out, the risk goes up, also depending on the construction and the amount of processes that are going on. Then they may need to look at extra protection by having a unit in every room. So it's on a case-by-case basis and based on the level of risk, I would argue. Should you have the unit on all the time? Well, you've already found out that I didn't have my unit on all the time when I was cooking, but yes, you should, because that provides a constant level of protection running in the background, actively protecting you and your family from anything that's in the air. If you decide to use it intermittently, again, it's based on the level of risk. So if you have a visitor come to the house, especially in these times where we're worried about the transmission of COVID through airborne particles, then you should probably have that machine running before they arrive to make sure it's clean for them when they turn up. And also it'll help reduce the risk of them passing anything on to you should they be actively carrying COVID or anything else, flu, cold, anything that can be airborne that they can bring in with them. Should I have the anion function on all of the time? Well, I've already kind of covered this, but yes, the benefit of this is it negatively charges the particles to bring them together. That makes it easier for the catalyst to, the DNO catalyst to capture and neutralize the threat and the pollution within the room. That's all of those questions. I forgot to mention earlier as well, and I don't know whether Chun-Li has been noticing, if you have any questions, you can submit them via the chat for us to answer in a moment. I should have said that right at the beginning, I do apologise. So just to briefly go over the project's unique selling points and the things that your teams may want to focus on. We have a quiet operation of 36 decibels. To put that into context, ambient air noise in the average dwelling is 40 decibels, which effectively means that the operation of this machine is quieter than the background noise that you already have in your rooms, making it effectively silent running. 5 fan speeds, which allows a degree of particulate filtration based on the level of pollution. Under automatic operation, that will change as the machine deems necessary, but you do have the option on that button on the top and on the remote control to override that if you find you get a visitor come into the room, for instance, and the machine's trickling away dealing with the background. For the first few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes that somebody arrives, you can put it on full and that will just flush the air through the system to give you a higher level of protection. Then you can return it back to automatic operation and just work in the background to keep protecting you. It's 99.95 effective in purifying and killing harmful virus and bacteria. Don't forget, it's not just our word on this. We have several testing houses, including SGS, one of the most respected testing houses globally, that have tested and certified this product to say that it does what we say it will do. So you have, you can rest assured your clients' peace of mind that the unit is actually working. Eliminates everything we've talked about: formaldehyde, toluene, PM2.5 particles, secondhand smoke, pollen even, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, bacteria, viruses, and those awful VOCs. The unit has a dual H13 level HEPA filter plus the DNO technology, giving us a unique ability to neutralize all risks from particulate matter and airborne aerosols without any secondary release, no secondary harmful discharge. Optimized clean air delivery pattern by CFD. So remember that the way our unit turns the air through 90 degrees and pushes it out the top, and the angle of the blades push that air to the ceiling around the side of the room and then sucks the air back in again, effectively increasing the delivery rate of fresh air for all of the occupants and increasing the protection of occupants within the building. We have a PM2.5 sensor, which gives you the constant rate of PM2.5 within the room. Has a humidity sensor, a temperature sensor, a VOC sensor, and also a light sensor. So it's measuring in many different areas to keep you safe. And obviously the light sensor is there that once it's plugged in automatic mode, the user can just forget about it and it's actively protecting you. And the only thing they need to do is just keep an eye on that filter, which degrades over time for replacement. But as we've already explained, that's 8 times slower than everything else in the market using traditional technology. It's cost effective, energy efficient, so it can run along in the background, and its quiet operation means that it's not disturbing everyday life. Long life filter, which we've discussed, and also to stop children messing with it. Little fingers tend to get into everywhere. There's a child lock so that they can't switch it off inadvertently and switch off your protection. And as you saw on the slide from my cooking, clear visual display showing the level of particulate matter, the humidity and the temperature in the room, the state of the filter, and based on the level of risk in your room at any one time, it's color coded. Although I have to say, in the highest levels of risk, the last thing you notice is the red light. The first thing you notice is that the fan's working hard to protect you, which is, it's only short term, but the fan goes, but you certainly know that it's working hard to protect you. It's quite satisfying and comforting to hear it going off. Now, if all of you haven't got these, Chun-Li has developed a couple of Excel-based tools. One is for sizing units on behalf of your customers, so you can make sure you're selling them the right solution for their needs. And there's also an ACH pollutant level calculator, which feeds in as well to explain to the clients what their level of pollution risk is. We're not going into those today, and our plan is within the next month to run another training course between Chun-Li and myself. You'll probably hear from her a little bit more on that one than you have on this. But that will go through some extra selling techniques, questions, those kind of things. My background actually before building technology was training salespeople. So we'll put some of that to use, but also take you through the operation of these tools. So all of your sales team and consultants can use these effectively to help you to sell. So finally, the message that we would like you to take away from today is that healthy air purifiers keep people safe and free to live again. Socializing with your family and friends in the office and dining out. We're there for your safety. We have a purifier suitable for all indoor situations. And I should add to that, and vehicles with the car unit as well. So Chun-Li, have we had any questions come in?
Yes, we got a good question, and maybe it's a clarification about why we didn't do the COVID test. Basically, on the virus side, we only did H1N1. The reason for that is the lab control level, lab safety level for this COVID aerosol test is extremely high, and there's none of the test lab in the world can do this test. So we chose the smaller virus to do the test to say, you know, we can kill COVID-19, and we can not only cure COVID-19, which is a bigger size of virus, we can also cure something smaller, that is H1N1. So theoretically, the DNO technology will convert or oxidize bacteria and viruses to CO2 and water. So, basically, all viruses are made up almost the similar material. So COVID is the same to us as H1N1. So that's the reason, and we didn't do any test.
I think that I'll add to that, Chun-Li. I was listening to BBC Radio 2 yesterday, and they were talking to the two doctors, scientists from Oxford University who produced and developed the AstraZeneca vaccine. And he was asking them, the presenter was asking them why they were able to produce this vaccine so quickly. And she explained that actually all viruses have got the same background makeup. So what she was saying was, it's like making a cake. You have the base cake, and each virus that comes along is just like putting an icing on the top with a different message: happy birthday, happy retirement. But the base of the virus is exactly the same. The makeup of it is exactly the same, which is why we can deal with any virus like that in the same way. But as I was saying, it's not the virus that's the problem, it's the size of the particulate matter. And if the particulate matter is bigger, as it is with COVID-19, it's bigger than H1N1, we can confidently say that we have no problem in dealing with it.
Yes, that's the only reason. Okay, do you have any more questions? You can drop me as a line in the chat session. So because my expertise is CFD, so that is so that's the reason all our products are optimized by the CFD design, and this technology is used for aerospace, for rocket, and for steam turbines, this high precision machinery. So our room is our technology used to design the product is very sophisticated, and also the results to do the job is also sophisticated. So because of this feature, and actually we can deliver all the clean air in every corner in the room if of course there's a limitation for the size of the room. So it's in the right room for the right machine, you can clean all the pollutants in the room with no dead spot. That's a lot of design shortcomings for a lot of other products. So conclude that actually healthy air pollutants a healthy air purifier can be put into many situations. For example, restaurant, hairdressers, nail bars, and hospitals, and people's living rooms. And so especially when you have a visitor come to visit you, and you don't know if they have a virus or not, actually when people are infected, when they breathe, the small particle coming out of them, and then that will carry the virus, and that droplet will turn to aerosol, and then carry away to go transmitted to all the room and infected people. So that's why at the very beginning, people don't understand the way the transmission method for this. So from the CFD, from the simulation, you can tell our machine can clean the droplet very clearly. So that's why, you know, we are so effective to prevent getting infected. So regarding the question from people says, in the middle of the room corner, where should we put this this machine? And actually, this machine is very flexible to where you put it. The reason is purely because the aerodynamics design. So as long as you don't block the in light and also out light, so the airflow you generated, even you put at the side of the room against the wall, and the flow actually can generate a mushroom-like pattern and transmit the clean air onto the whole area. Yes, this is a long table we produced. It's a very complicated table to compare different technology.
Yeah,
And Terry, can you go to the flow pattern there?
Yeah, sure. Just we'll go to that. Yeah, we'll come to that first. This is just actually in response to a question from Ed. Actually, you want me to go to the video with the flow pattern, the CFD one?
No, just the table comparison table.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Because we got a lot of pictures for the flow pattern.
There you go.
Next one, yes. So for different brands, they have different designs, and actually our flow pattern is the most advanced, and also how to say that is most effective. So that that is, you can see from you know, Healthy Air 800 is generate a mushroom-like flow pattern and transformed all in all the room. So the design of the units is the inlight is very, very big. It's about the double inlight. You got two inlights, and the inlight are about you know, about 8 times size of the outlight. So that means the velocity at the inlight is about only 1/8 of the flow rate at the top. By that means is actually there's you won't suck any dirt or any dust on the ground and get into the machine. So that's one of the reasons our filter has a longer life as well. So after the air get into the system, the machine, and then come out of the outlet, and then because of the velocity is high, it will generate a jet. You can see here, it is quite red here, and then punched on the ceiling. Then you generate the mushroom-like, and then because it's going to punch to the ceiling, so you can't really feel anything in the room at all. So this is why our machines are used in baby delivery room in Leila Hospital. And actually, it took our French distributor a long time to convince the hospital to buy our machine. But after they convinced them, they're starting to put all sorts of places we you know, somewhere we didn't imagine they could put. For example, the new baby's delivery room. So you can see, you know, for new baby's room, people need very good environment, and not only the air pollution, also the flow, how, you know, the gentleness of the flow, and also quiet. You know, the requirement for the machine is very high, and we met that inquiry, we met that requirement, and also it's now Lille Hospital is basically promoting it, or install it through their hospital, and also other hospital as well.
So in the next training session that we'll do, hopefully in about 4 weeks' time, we will highlight on some case studies. We were discussing this the other day, that we needed to show them, but obviously in order to include case studies in written form, we need permission from the organisations, and so we can tell you about them, but we just haven't got them committed to writing yet.
Yeah. Okay. So there's another question is yeah.
While you're looking at that, Chun-Li, so Ed asked why he doesn't know which machines use different technologies. So Ed, this was already in the presentation, but as you can see, there's a lot of information in here, and I think it's really difficult to present this over a screen. So this presentation will be sent to you after the course. Chun-Li will send it out, and these slides are included in it for you to have a look at. They were just hidden during the presentation. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 competitors alongside our product, with all the specifications, how the filtration works, components of the filter, whether there's secondary pollution, particulates, gaseous, everything, 100%, all of the different features of every single machine there for you. And then, as Chun-Li said, we have the airflow pattern, which we believe ours is the best with CFD technology, the filter pollutant type, purification method, which is what you were asking about there.
Yeah.
Filter distribution. And then finally on the third screen, shows you the volumes, any special features, what sensors, air quality display, etc., and what it will kill. So at the bottom of there as well. So you've got all of that available to you after this course, after this presentation.
Yeah, there's another question. Say what why are we certain DNO filters is removing all the pollutants? We have done many tests to remove different pollutants, and also it's actually the machine itself is combined HEPA plus DNO technology. HEPA itself is using to remove particles, but DNO technology are used to remove gases and also kill bacteria and viruses. That's the main advantages of DNO technology. So for other technology, for example, UV, and they have a side effect, for example, ozone problem. Actually, ozone itself is very bad pollutants to the environment and to people's health. And we have, we have done tests already on ozone, and that our machine has extremely low ozone level. Actually, theoretically, there shouldn't be any. And our test result is 0.003 and milligrams per cubic meter, and the standard is 0.1 basically. So is just 3%, roughly 3% of the standard. So and reach the test limits. So in conclusion, even some of the other technology, UV or by ionizer can kill bacteria and viruses, but in the meantime, it will also create another pollutants problem, which could harm people. So we're very safe and also environmental friendly to surrounding area.
So, but just so you're both aware, one of the biggest activities excuse me, of the building research establishment where Chun-Li and I met many years ago. The business had two sides, and one was certification and one was consultancy. And the certification side of our body is recognized internationally under construction testing. So we understand construction testing methods and what we see on reports, which is why SGS was chosen, because obviously Chun-Li understands the criteria and the quality of testing houses. And I've took you back to the screen because obviously whilst I was talking on that, I didn't really give you a chance to look at the test results sheet. But you can see here where I've put the green arrow. The test method with SGS is test methods reference to the GB standard and technical standards for disinfection 2012 to determine the antiviral activity influenza A virus 1 hour test. So it tells you that it's H1N1, which obviously is the smaller particle than coronavirus. It tells you what the test conditions was, what the temperature range of the test. The contact time was for 60 minutes and the cabin volume, so the size of the space in which they run the apparatus to run the test was 30 meters cubed, and sample setting maximum wind speed. So this was on fan power 5 for an hour in a 30 meters cubed room. And then you can see down the bottom, the clearance rate for the virus in each of those tests was 99.9%. So that's how we can say categorically that we can do it with bacteria and viruses, because it's third-party certified independently.
Okay.
And also, just so you're aware, having worked for certification, SGS are not allowed to give us design advice on how to improve our systems, because then obviously that's a bit like they're marking their own homework. And so they have to test independently. We take them a piece of equipment with a test that we want them to require on it, and they have to be completely independent and look at it in an objective way. So there is no chance that they have any vested interest in us passing the test. Obviously, if they were to give us advice or had a financial interest in the product, then their test wouldn't be impartial, and then that wouldn't be valid under the UCAS and certification testing. That they have to be certified themselves under the processes that they use. So we have 100% confidence in the test results that we have there.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. Yes. Do you have more? I think maybe we answered all the questions.
You can always email either of us if you have anything further, or save it for the next training session that we run.
Yes, we will send this presentation to everybody, and also some supporting, research material to people as well. And if you, in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can either ask, send an email to Terry or me to so we can deal with it by internally and then send back to you. So Terry, can you send everybody your email address here? I have the air one.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Mine as well. So I'm sure I'm talking to everybody here. Everybody here has my email address already, and if you don't have, you can take it. Yeah.
Bear with me. Actually, you might need to do that for me, Chun-Li, because I can't seem to get chat to open. Why? For why? I don't know why. Why am I not seeing that?
Okay, it's you can send it to me. Okay.
It's Terence.Beckett, so TERENCE.BECKETT at healthyairtech.com.
Yeah, I will send.
You can put it in with the presentation when they were doing and send that
out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Hopefully you found that useful.
Okay.
It's the first time together we've delivered this training, so hopefully it was useful and made some sense. We weren't working,
Absolutely.
but I wasn't talking too quickly for you all.
Okay. Brilliant.
We've got
Okay.
another question down there. What's that?
Okay, shall we? Thanks for attending this webinar, and this webinar is recorded, so we will send you a link and for YouTube, our Healthy Air YouTube channel.
We have
And
another
then-
question, Chun-Li,
Yeah.
from anonymous attendee. Do you have a bibliography of list of sources for the claims you made today about pollutants and their impacts on health? Yeah, we'll compile that. Actually, a lot of the stats came from World Health Organization. A couple of the things I've put in that I've taken are taken from charities and health organizations that deal with the impacts of those pollutants on the bodies.
Yeah.
So we'll send that out. It won't be necessarily with the presentation that will come out, but we'll send that out after, so you've got a list of all of the all of the facts. But they're all right. So the test result there did show you on the bottom of it. Someone says, so showed us the test results for the pollutant removal, but not the amount of time it took to remove them. The test was conducted over 1 hour.
Yes.
And it's at the end of 1 hour, it was 99.9% removal. However, for particulate matter of not necessarily bacteria, but for particles like smoke, cooking, I can tell you categorically that it removed everything out of my room within 40 minutes, but it will be slightly slower for viruses and bacteria because of the time it takes for the DNO catalyst to operate, which is why we can say categorically it's within an hour, because that's what the test took.
Yeah, the test is a standard test, and in 30 liter, and we always do the test in 1 hour. We wouldn't do longer because based on the standard, sometimes you can use 2 hour or even 3 hour. So we can see on the market, people code their rate, and quite often they code 2 hours. 2 hours testing rate, but we don't think that's the right thing to do. So for us, we chose the shorter time, testing time.
And there's another question there, Chun-Li, is that all tests? So
it's all the test we do is 1 hour test.
No, but do you mean anonymous? Do you mean, is that all tests we've undertaken, or is that all tests that take an hour? Obviously, this machine's been tested against all types of particulate matter.
Yes.
We've just focused on viruses and bacteria today.
Yeah, based on the standard, all the tests we carry out by third party is 1 hour. But if it is in your machine, if you are going to use in your home, that is slightly in your home, that depends on how big your machine is. So NOx SOx is the same as well. It's also 1 hour test, and also additionally we have also left live test results also showed we can take out NOx SOx. That's no problem. Yeah. Okay. So we don't have any questions in the Q&A, and shall we conclude this training session? And we will get in touch with all the training material and also the link of the YouTube link. Okay.
And the bibliography of references.
Yes.
The data.
Okay.
Thank you for your time today, everybody.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye all.
Bye. Okay.
Down to 3.